Welcome back to Unleashing. Okay, they've got me sitting here. I'm waiting for a load, and this is the perfect time to make a video. For those complaining about noise, it's over 100 degrees out right now, and if I shut this truck off, it's gonna be like 130 in here in less than 30 seconds. I gotta keep a little bit of AC going on, but I got it going on the floor, so please no complaining. I know you guys can hear me. So anyways, I want to talk about a couple of things real fast, something that's been on my mind. And then something else that just popped up, and I might as well address this right now. The unpardonable sin, okay? You know, I've heard people talk about it before, how they think they've committed it and things like that. There's a couple things you're not supposed to do. One is if you reject Jesus, there's no choice about that. You've turned away from it, and you're going to go to hell, okay? That's real. That's kind of an unpardonable thing. If you don't want to have anything to do with it, then there's no way you're getting in, right? But what was the unpardonable sin that the Pharisees were doing that Jesus warns about? All right, let me put you back in the context of it. Jesus was performing miracles. These guys were so jealous, it's unbelievable. They knew what he was doing, and they had power, and he had power that they couldn't swindle or take away from him or anything like that. They were notable miracles, and he was doing it right in front of them, all right? When he was taking the power back and giving it back to the people, basically, all right? And showing them, you know, the relationships with God. It's not through the Pharisaical order and what they had created, all right? So what are they doing? While he's performing these miracles that are notably by God, undeniably, and the people know that, in their jealousy, they were denying it, saying that he was doing it through Beelzebub or through Satan, right? So they knew that they were lying, and they were doing it out of jealousy, and they were denying what he was doing and saying it was being done through the devil, all right? Knowing darn well that it was being done through God himself, okay? And they were jealous of it, all right? That was what they were doing, and Jesus warns them, whoa, be very careful what you're saying, because you're blaspheming the Holy Spirit, you know, darn well. And he knew inside their hearts that this is being done by the will of God, all right? And you're saying it's being done by Satan, and like coming against it, right? You're lying against it deliberately in front of everybody, okay? That was the unpardonable sin, and he warned them about it. Don't do it, because you know, Holy Spirit's going to take some serious offense to that when it's that bluntly obvious, all right? Let's say we're in a group, and I pray for somebody and their legs come back, all right? Or they get hit by a train and it comes back. Everybody's going to know that God has just done that. And let's say somebody in the crowd is raging jealous of that, and they want to have power thrust upon themselves. They have a Simon the Magus kind of attitude, right? They want the glory for themselves. And they start saying that I'm doing it through the power of Satan, but they already know, and they're doing it out of jealousy, that I did it through God. But they're trying to twist everybody, and they're saying it. That would be blaspheming the Holy Spirit. As you can see, this scenario is very specific, and you have to have an evil heart right from the start, and you have to know that the miracle is coming from God, and then personally deny it. And that's what they were doing, all right? Anybody who thinks that they've accidentally done the unpardonable sin, if you're not in a scenario that specific and that serious, you're not. The only place where you're going to be making a mistake where, you know, you're not going to make it is if you willingly turn away from God. So I hope that helps somebody. If there's anybody that's ever thought that they've done that, it's pretty obvious that you haven't. That's a very specific situation that's taking place, all right? And you have to know well. So, you know, if you ever were to find yourself as a Satanist in a situation, you know somebody's performing a miracle of God, and somehow you are against them, and while you're a Satanist and everybody knows it, and saying it's the power, you know, you'd have to be in a really specific situation, and it's not going to come easier, right? So I just want to throw that out there. I really hope that it helps you guys get a better understanding of this. Go back and read the scenario. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see what I mean. Jesus knows that these guys are jealous right from the start. He knows the Pharisees know he's doing it through the power of God, and they're denying it, saying it the other thing around, trying to discredit it when they know darn well that it is, but they're jealous because he's taking the power away from them. They're totally corrupt, okay? The unpardonable sin, all right? Hopefully that helps. This next part is going to be quick, but I thought it was cool, and I was going to wait longer to talk about it to see if some more stuff came up, but it hasn't. So in and in itself, it's worth a cool discussion, so I'm going to share it with you guys. When you're in heaven, you're going to have all kinds of new abilities, all right? And I've got to experience those when I was showing and taken up in the rapture, and I got to experience it, all right? The flight is awesome. You're going to have eagle vision, all right, where you can look in the distance and you're just like there, and it automatically adjusts even when you're breaking the sound barrier, okay? I only got to experience flight and eagle vision, and flying is very real, and it's totally awesome. It's not floating around like a butterfly, like you're drunk and, you know, flopping around. You can fly, and it's totally badass, right? And the other is the eagle vision, okay? You can look a long ways, and the vision's totally clear. It's amazing, all right? But I've heard a few of the other ones that people have seen in visions that they have been shown in the rapture, and a couple of them note that when they are looking at something at a distance, one person was looking down while they were standing there right before we got taken to heaven in the rapture, and when they were looking down, they could see a creek in the distance, and they were looking at a flower that had a shade of yellow that was extremely beautiful they had not seen before, all right? But what they noted was is they could hear the creek that the flower was next to, even when they were miles away, okay? Your new abilities are going to be enhanced that God has for us in a way that that doesn't make sense now. You need to be close to something to hear or to see and to smell, okay? And with the new bodies, that's not going to be the case anymore. There's going to be all kinds of new traits and stuff that it has, all right? And that's pretty awesome. So, I mean, seeing something at a distance, hearing it there, and then even smelling it, it's totally part of it. It's totally part of the whole thing, okay? So, anyways, once I have that basis going right now, that's what I kind of wanted to share on. So, in October of 2022, I'd stopped making YouTube videos, and I didn't think I was doing it anymore, and I was going through a hard time. And I go into the bathroom, and I wasn't really thinking anything at the time or anything like that, you know. I don't know if I had just got done reading the Bible or praying or whatever else, but I go into this bathroom at the place that I was staying at, and I looked up in the mirror real fast, and for a split second, I saw a solar flare coming out of my neck, right? And I double took and looked back at it, and I'm like, there's no way that I just randomly saw that or I missed that. And I knew what it was. God was giving me a glimpse real fast. It's always that little bit right when you think, you know, you've had enough and you need that encouragement, and he'll sometimes give something. He gives just a little glimpse of what's to come. And I saw that solar flare coming out of the left side of my neck right there. It was golden light. Really thick and rich, kind of like going into a barn in the morning if you've ever been on a farm, and it's still really quiet, and the golden sun is shining through a crack like a beam inside the barn, and it's really peaceful, and you can kind of see some dust going through it or whatever, and you can run your hand through it, kind of honeyish almost, but really dark and golden. That's what it looked like, and it was shooting out real fast from my neck right there. And I know what it was. I mean, it was a glimpse. I saw the whole thing when you were blasting up. I saw the golden light, the power, and just that little spark right there. It's just so close. It's just waiting to be activated any time, right? So, anyways, I didn't share that or anything like that. But time goes on. Give me just a second here. Okay, here we go. I had to do some work real fast. So 2023 comes around. I'm going through a hard time, and I tell God, I'm like, we got to be drawing this to a close here pretty soon. I've been at this for like 10 years, and there's only a few more people I want to talk to, you know. And I told him I'd hit it up, but there's got to be a change, you know, and there was. And I went and talked to a cousin and to my niece down in Missouri. Went to a few other places around and stuff like that, and then I ended up doing the trucking thing, and then going over in a few different spots in the United States, and finishing up talking to the last people I could possibly think of that I knew and worked with, you know, that I could talk to about God and stuff like that. And then since that, he's been having me do what I'm doing. But anyways, during 2023, something happened. It started right around the first part of the year, and it's along the same lines of what I'm talking about. I started getting smells coming in. All right. Not only just when reading, but also thinking about a thing. And just like I said before, when you look into the distance or you're watching something, your mind, your presence is also taken there, so you can smell the area and the presence and the place, okay? And it's very unique, and I haven't shared. I shared it with my mom and a few other people, okay? So anyways, 2023, and I mean, it was just blowing up. It was happening all the time. I couldn't believe it. It was such a strange thing, and it was precursors to things. It was so strange. One time in particular, I'm upstairs and I'm looking at something and I'm about to start reading it, and all of a sudden, I smelled the beach. I'm like, whoa, that is the craziest thing ever. I can smell the ocean and like the sand and stuff. Like, I'm like, where is that coming from? I'm like, that is so wild. So I go back to what I was reading and I scroll down another paragraph or so, boom, and it's talking about the beach. My mind had already picked it up and it had thrown it out there, right? I'm like, that is so trippy. And this was happening over and over again from whatever the smell was, right? It was happening all the time. And I'm like, this is so trippy. I'm like, God, are you giving me like a precursor, a little heads up to this? This is cool. I'm like, are we getting so close that it's like starting to roll over? And I've been saying it I've said it for a while. Like, I feel like there's a leeching that's starting to happen. This time period that we're in, this holodeck that's been created, it's separated out and created into a linear time in the higher dimensions and stuff like that. Things are merged together. We don't have the driver, that's a computer term, to activate it. So like when I say, when John sees in Revelation, when he's writing down the stuff, like it's a big merger to him. It doesn't make sense, and it looks like a cluster, right? Like a mural on the wall, which is like Revelations isn't in order, okay? So anyways, but there's like a leeching the closer we're getting, and like some of the powers and some of the things that are going to happen, I've been starting to experience a little bit before it actually does take place, right? And I knew that that's what this was, or at least I was getting a glimpse of it, and in all 2023. And I mean, it happened throughout the whole year, and I never talked about it or said anything, right? So, and of course, that's only because I started making videos in 2024 again. At 10 o'clock, 10:30 that night on New Year's Eve, God released me. He gave me back the power to start talking and stuff again. That's a story in its own. But anyways, if I keep this camera straight here, it keeps wanting to wander off on me. So 2024, it kind of drops off, and I'm like, well, that's strange. It just kind of went away. And so I thought, you know, and I wasn't noticing it as much anymore or at all. And but it's still there. I've still been experiencing it, but it's not like it was in 2023, right? Like, it came on really strong in 2023, but it didn't during these first months of 2024. But what I'm about to talk about is when it did come on again, and it's been coming on here and there, but not as frequently, right? And this is what I want to share, right? Sorry for the crazy backstory. Now let's get to the point. The point is, I was in Job, it was back in March, and I'm reading, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get through these hard parts. That's it, I'm just gonna bust through this, right? So I'm in the cab of my truck, and I'm like, I'm just gonna finish off Job. And I'm in chapter 29, and I'm reading down through, and right when I get to the 14th verse, when it says, I put on righteousness, the second I hit that spot, poof, like a potpourri, the whole cab goes vanilla, right? And it was very distinctly vanilla. I'm like, oh wow, that smells amazing. Holy mackerel. Wow, what is that, right? And I'm like blown away. I'm like, oh no, is that the ability? I'm like, what am I reading about where I'd get vanilla? I'm thinking, is that word in here, something or like that? And I realized what it was, and what God was showing me was it was righteousness. I put on righteousness and clothed me. My judgment was a robe of Adidium. And I wrote down vanilla. I just smelled what is going on here, right? And I'm like, God, is that from you? That's amazing. And I'm looking over this, and I'm like, no way. And I'm like, does our righteousness have a smell to it? In like your presence, God? Like, does it smell like vanilla? And I'm hoping some rabbi that has some sort of back secret stuff that they have never written about, that talks this one passed down through generations of being around God and His presence and stuff like that, and a smell, and only they know about it is watching this video right now and like confirms it or something. But I'm like, that is amazing. And the smell just was like, boom. Everything is very strong, and it was distinctly vanilla, right? I'm like, wow, that is so unique. So I continue on reading, and I don't think, I keep thinking about it too, and I know it's real because when I was looking for it just now, for a split second, right when I was like, oh, is that the spot? Poof, right before I got to it, it kicked back on for a split second, but it wasn't the strong, like, boom, like potpourri bomb of vanilla, like it was, but I know that's it, because it literally just kicked on when I was digging through this, like about 5 minutes ago. I just smelled it again for a split second. That's wild, right? It's pretty trippy stuff. Okay, so I finished through it, and I'm like, oh, finally I'm into some Psalms. Let's read a few good little things here, right? And I'm asking God, like, and of course it's not a coincidence because it's in the same reading time. And I'm asking God about it, and kind of thinking about, like, is that really righteousness? Is that what it smells like? That's amazing. So I get down to Psalm 14, into the 3rd verse. And it says, they are all gone aside, they are altogether become filthy. There's none that doeth good, no, not one. All right, he's not talking about them being dirty, like as in playing in the mud, but they're filthy because of their sin and stuff like that. And what do you know? Filthy has a little 4 next to it. So I randomly, while I'm still talking to God about this, look over into the center column. And 4 in Hebrew is described as another word, as in stinking. All right, the sin is stinking. And I knew right there, that's exactly what he was showing me. The righteousness that we have with God when we're doing what's right for Him. It has a smell, a fragrance in His nose, and I think that we'll be able to smell it too, because I smelled it. It smells freaking fantastic. And righteousness has the smell of vanilla. Job 29:14, and it's absolutely incredible. I've got to smell it. It's amazing. I wouldn't have got to experience this if that ability hadn't started kicking on in 2023. And like I say, I haven't shared it, but there is a leeching effect that I'm starting to see taking place with powers and abilities starting to leech over beforehand, before we actually get the new bodies and stuff like that. And I find it very unique. And it was confirmed in the same prayer and reading when I made it to Psalm 14. And it said, they're all gone aside, they all together become filthy. And the number right there, when you look over the center column, another reference in Hebrew, what it says is that they've all together become stinking in their sin. It's not that fragrance anymore. Anyways, it's absolutely incredible, totally unique, and I had to share it. It's a quick little video, and while I'm waiting here, I figured it was the perfect time. So anyways, I'm going to give you guys that for today. It's something to think about. You can pray about it and everything else, but there's lots of awesome things to look forward to when we're with God. Anyways, be encouraged. Don't get down. God bless. Location is Bye.